I begin certain characters in, for example, in Scotland Street, there have been characters I've introduced, and then I thought, well, we're not really going very far with them, I don't like. And then you've got various options open to you. You can kill them, which is an extreme option. Now, there are many authors who have no compunction in killing their characters. I have a very low mortality rate in my books. I did dispose of one of my characters in Scotland Street, Larno O'Connor, who was a Glasgow gangster. I had him fall down the stairs. He had a heart attack and fell downstairs, and that was it. Largely because I'd seen photographs in the Scotsman newspaper of a big Glasgow gangster's funeral, a real Glasgow gangster's funeral. Glasgow gangsters go in big funerals with large displays of flowers, carrying which say, give messages. And so I wanted to write about O'Connor's funeral, so I decided that he would be written out. And he has a spectacular funeral where the floral messages, one large wreath says, quality, and another one says, big man, and then another one which came from an enemy just says, dead. And so you can, or you can just have the character disappear. I've disappeared a few of my characters in Scotland Street, where somebody says, has anybody seen so-and-so? And they say no. As an novelist, I feel you'll appreciate the tremendous power of life and death over these characters. But then you realise that you can't, there are limits to that. Now, a lot of my readers would like me to dispose of Bertie's mother. Bertie's mother is now I won't do it, I hesitate. Hasten to point out, Bertie's mother is a very, very pushy mother. And all little Bertie has to suffer at the hands of his pushy mother, who makes him learn Italian, learn the saxophone, go to yoga classes, and have psychotherapy. And so poor little boy has a very tough time. And all he wants to be is a little boy. He wants to be an ordinary 6-year-old. He's got one of these tiger mothers who really is making him do all these things. And every so often he has a glimpse of what it might be to be a little boy. His father takes him fishing, and Bertie almost catches a trout. This great big trout, silver trout, rises up to the top of the loch, and then it gets off the hook, and it disappears. And they go ashore, Stuart, his father, takes them. They get lost. They go through the mist. They end up in a farmhouse. And they knock on the farmhouse door. The farmer's wife invites them in. They go in, and they have a cup of tea, and Bertie, to his absolute delight, discovers that there's a real boy living there, a 6-year-old, same as him, called Andy. But this farmer's son has the life of a normal boy. And Bertie's really quite taken by this. And this, Andy says to Bertie, Bertie, would you like to come and see my things? And so Bertie says yes, he takes him up to his room. He opens a drawer, and there is something that Bertie has always wanted. Bertie's heart has yearned after a Swiss Army penknife. That's what he really wants. Most boys, and many men, actually want a Swiss Army penknife. And there in the drawer, and there's not one, but 6 or 7 Swiss Army penknives. And this little boy says, this, Bertie, is a Swiss Army penknife. The Swiss Army fights only with penknives. And Bertie's so delighted with this. His little heart is filled. And then he says to Andy, do you have psychotherapy? And Andy says, no, we mostly have cattle. Poor little boy. But people want to get rid of Bertie's mother, which I can't do, because I don't want Bertie to be a motherless child. I was in Boston yesterday, or the day before, no, yesterday, and I was at this dinner party, and somebody came up to me and he said, just simply said, getting rid of her, getting rid of her. I didn't know what he meant. Because if somebody comes up to you months. And so I said, I can't possibly do that. And he said, no, you just dispose of her. And then eventually the penny dropped, and I realized that he was talking about Bertie's mother, Irene. And so I said, no, I can't possibly do that. Because readers do write in with suggestions if they don't like a character. They'll write in with suggestions as to unfortunate things that can happen. I've got a wonderful narcissist in Scotland Street, so it's called Bruce Anderson, and he's so pleased with himself. He can't resist a reflective surface of any sort. He has his hair cut en brosse and he wears a clothes-scented hair gel, and he's really always very. And my lady readers actually rather like him. They really do. They pretend that they don't, but they actually really quite like him. And so I always give him a shower scene in one of the He's like that very much indeed. But some don't. And I had a suggestion from one reader who said, please could we have something really unpleasant happen to Bruce, preferably involving a steamroller. Which I couldn't do. No, he really is, he's dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. But he always comes out on top of the situation. He's just done terribly well in the latest book, and the readers will be furious because he's entered. He found his double, which for a narcissist is a wonderful thing to do. He found a chap who's image, and they decided to swap identities for a day or two. One would go up to one's office, and the other would go up to the other's office, and they'd swap his identity. And Bruce goes off to the office of this double called Jonathan, so he's Jonathan for a couple of days. And he joins the member of the office staff who collects for the syndicate for the lottery, comes and says it's time for you to pay your contribution before second. And he wins the lottery, which raises rather interesting issues about whether Jonathan's one than Bruce's one. And so at the end of this novel, Bruce is effectively won £1 million. And that's the thing that I think the reader's going to find difficult to do. But there is a shower scene, so they
what did your family make of yours? I mean, you must be the slowest overnight success of all time. I mean, you've been working for 30 years.
Yes, so but by the time I was a success, I was an orphan. It was a slow fuse.
What did your family make of
the family is they're happy with the way things have gone. My family is I've got a very supportive family, and I think they're pleased that people are reading the books. Well, and I've got 3 sisters, and my sisters read my books. Because I think if your sisters don't read your books, then nobody would. One of my sisters gives me comments on the books, but she always is so polite. She always says very, very polite things. So it's not criticism. I can't really act on it, but it's enthusiastic support, which is very nice, and I think that's what families ought to do. Enthusiastic support. My daughter Lucy gives me advice on sartorial matters in the books. So Mama Cootsy's shoes are always described by Lucy. I sent an email to Lucy saying, Mama Cootsy's getting a new pair of shoes. Please describe them. She will say, well, blue leather on the outside with, no, it was green actually. It was green leather on the outside, sky blue linings. And then some technical terms. So if in the books you see technical descriptions of shoes, that's all from my daughter Lucy. And if you see technical descriptions of motoring matters, for example, when Mr. J.O.B. Maticone talks about motoring matters, and I start talking about gearboxes and things like that, that all comes from a psychiatrist friend of mine, who is a great enthusiast for old cars. So I phone up this friend of mine, Richard, and say, Richard, what should I say here? And he dictates. And I just write it. So any